Welcome to the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. I'm your host, Terry Betsakis, and this is where we talk honestly about midlife, hormones, mindset, and becoming who you want to be next. Welcome to the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. I'm your host, Terry Betsakis, and this week I'm talking with Briony Montgomery. Briony is a psychotherapist and somatic practitioner helping people get out of survival mode and feel safe in their bodies again. If you're overwhelmed, anxious, shut down, or stuck in patterns you can't seem to break, this is where it changes. Her work goes beyond talking. She works with the nervous system where stress and trauma actually live. Through somatic therapy, Briony helps people move from burnout and emotional chaos into feeling calm, clear, steady, and in control. Welcome, Briony. It's such a pleasure to have you.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Terry.
I'm really excited to share everything that Briony has to tell you guys because she is going to come out with some doozies. Can you share a little about yourself, what you do, and how you support women in perimenopause?
Sure. So I am, as you said, a somatic psychotherapist, and I'm the founder of the Somatherapy Collective. And I am, I kind of want to, part of that, a really integral part of that, and what we're talking about today is framing up that I'm also a solo mother of 5. And so
Wow,
ranging
5. I
from,
didn't know that.
yes, 5,
God
ranging from
bless.
18 to
I have
4.
I have 2, so I'm like, I'm impressed. 18 to what? 4?
To 4. To 4.
Whoa. Okay, now I'm really in ear. I'm all ears now. Like I was ears before, now I'm really all ears.
So it's quite an interesting household and interesting to be at this chapter of my life and also dealing with the hormones of so many varied
Yes.
individuals that, in my house. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I focus on nervous system healing for trauma and in the body, because that's where when we have traumatic episodes or we have those experiences in our life, it's stored in the body. Previously, I've been a body therapist, and the brain remembers experiences differently and can sequence them on a timeline, but the body remembers things as though it's happening in real time.
Mm.
So I work with healing trauma and, burnout, as you mentioned, overwhelm, anxiety, rage and grief are just like so juicy and so sticky at this time, in this chapter, in this, kind of midlife.
Mm.
And we move with that through the body and use and repair ruptures in the body as well, like ruptures from exiled parts of ourselves that we kind of pushed away for safety reasons because in trauma, and that kind of disconnection that we have had and felt throughout our life becomes very prevalent in this stage. And so the somatic therapy moves with knitting all of those experiences in in repairing them back into the full and embodied sense of who you are. And that builds capacity and safety. And like regulation is really what we talk about in somatic therapy, that the window of tolerance. I like to use the window of flow, like, because we're also having experiences with neurodivergence. Like that's, a lot of women are coming to ADHD diagnoses at this time of their life and seeing themselves as neurospicy. And that flow, that window of tolerance, even in somatic therapy, it changes because it's a different presentation in each woman from the richness of who they are and their experiences being brought into this intersection of life. And the somatic therapy, and what I do is help women to transition this threshold with really connecting with their power, their pleasure, and their purpose in this next chapter, because it's kind of like a real bridge of what has been to what is coming, and how how we move in that intersection and how we make choices, and I suppose meet and tend to the transformation that's taking place biologically, spiritually, emotionally, collectively at this stage in our lives.
There's so many things, isn't there? Like you mentioned the word exiled. which kind of stuck with me. And I went, "Ooh, I'd never thought of it that way." But it's true. Like, we do exile some aspects of ourselves in our past, and then all of a sudden they're coming out. And then you mentioned the word bridge, creating a bridge. And I think that's really powerful, especially from a metaphor perspective. I'm a visual person. So everything I hear, I visualize things in my mind. That's how I understand them. So when you said that, I was like, wow, there's past me, and then here's me now, and then that bridge, and then that exile. I'm kind of almost reaching. So I had a lot of that vision stuff as you were speaking.
Mm.
That was pretty powerful for me. So I can imagine, like, somebody else who's listening right now, I'd be curious to hear, like, how they interpreted that. How did you even get into this kind of work? This is cool.
So, like all my work, because I've been in the wellness and health industry now for 30 years. And it's always been the big thresholds for me that has led me to learning about my body, learning about my system. And a lot of my work was initially spiritually informed and body informed, natural therapies back in 2001 after I lost my mother to cancer. And I rebuilt my system and started working with women back in 2009. And it was actually in 2009 where I started to realize that actually there's something in the body here. You can only work so much with meditation and spiritual practice and talk therapy. And I was doing all the things and I felt like this kind of like a ceiling, like this kind of blockage. And so in 2009, I discovered yogini practices and tantrika practices, which were in the body. And then that I started to dabble in that more with women and seeing such huge shifts, like really deep transformations in the way that not getting rid of things, bringing more things in and knitting them back into the system and really having fantastic results, like long-term healing. The trajectory of how women felt within themselves and how they were relating was shifting at like patterns that they couldn't work through were shifting quite seamlessly and quite powerfully. And then it was the breakdown of my marriage in 4 years ago in 2022 that saw me at the doorstep, and divorce and family court, like
Mm.
all the things,
The drama
all
that
the
comes
things,
with
all the
it.
drama. And I turned to somatic therapy. I'd known about somatic therapy, Dr. Peter Levine's work for many, many years. And I'd been dabbling and doing vagus nerve work and embodiment work and rage and grief work, which were like
Mm.
phenomenally powerful and life changing for me. And then at the doorstep of divorce, somatic therapy, I said, I have to learn this. This is, and so I actually studied somatic therapy to support me through that process, through the court, through, and then perimenopause and then I just started to see the phenomenal impact that it was having for me individually, that I thought I have to move this into my work. There's something so powerfully untapped here, and everyone should be doing nervous system. Our children should be learning about the nervous systems from dot. Like, we should be having
Yeah.
nervous system conversations and understanding of how our patterns and our neurological patterns work from dot. Like, it should be a regular part of our community and our language daily. So yeah,
Just part of our healthy habits, I guess, working on that angle.
yeah.
So when you talk about our nervous system and our nervous system transitioning and changing and focusing on our nervous system, for the people who aren't in the know and don't fully understand what that actually means, can you explore that a little bit?
Yeah, so the nervous system is it's neurological as well as through the nerves in the body, and what we what I because I use a lot of attachment work as well, and parts work in the somatic therapy that I do. So the nervous system itself is a patterning that is formed within the body, and the body is always working at creating safety. The body never does anything ever that's not to keep us safe.
Mm.
So the nervous system is broken down into the fight, flight, fawn, and freeze states. And we have this, as I mentioned before, this window of tolerance, this window of regulation. And that's kind of that place of calm, grounded, that sense of like support, safety that we have in our system, in our body, in our environment. And when we are born, we start to, this nervous system, our nervous system starts to pattern, even in utero. There's even like schools of thought that it's happening in our mother's womb, and even ancestrally, even patterned culturally, epigenetics, that we are imprinted with a particular pattern within our own nervous system from the time that we are born. And that,
So when you say pattern, sorry to interrupt you,
yeah.
do you mean like habit type things, behavior type things, or like even thoughts that are happening just like what you said, ancestral, like being passed down? Is that what you mean by patterns?
Yeah, so all of that, all of that. So, cultural, you can see in, um, different cultural groups that have had, or ethnicities or ethnic groups that have had
Hmm.
particular traumatic experiences in the lineage, that response that that culture, although that community had at the time, will be passed down to the next generation and passed down through the forming of the brain, of the neuropathways, because when we have trauma, the neuropathways change in response to that,
Yeah.
as well as in our cells epigenetically, as well as our just things triggering our system in our thoughts and our behaviors, and forming the patterns of who we are based on all of those things that you just mentioned. So the nervous system brings all of that together, and we're patterned in a way that, to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves belonged in community, to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves, uh, nourished, we have food, shelter, all of the things we are as humans that we need to survive, is patterned in our system, as well as attachment to our primary caregivers. And those attachments play a huge role in that patterning in our nervous system, of how our nervous system responds, or how our body responds, and our thoughts and our behaviors are based on what is happening in our immediate environment, and what is happening in our body, in the physiological spaces in our body, which can be conscious and unconscious.
So it all sounds like a lot of doom and gloom. That's a lot of stuff that, like, I mean, I'm just imagining ladies listening to this going, I'm stuffed, right? There's no hope for me. Like, what are some of these symptoms and like signs that you're dysregulated? I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me. What
Yeah,
are some of the signs? And then we'll focus on, well, how do we sort this out?
yeah, absolutely. Because it's not all doom and gloom. I love the body. The body is so intelligent. The body is so it's always working for you, even though it may feel at times it's not. But some of the signs that, you're you're having a nervous system, like you're not, you're having a nervous system response, you're in a pattern, is feeling constantly on edge and hypervigilant and anxious in your environment, like looking for the threat consistently, feeling emotional. And we want to have, when we're in a flow state, we want to have, like, we don't want to be like this. Yeah. We want to be we want to have these different kind of, different responses, sometimes simultaneously. We want to have this kind of flow. We want to be flowing with and responding to, in appropriate ways and healthy ways, what's happening within us and around us. But this emotional reactivity can look like it's just like high
Mm,
highs, low lows, irritability, snapping really quickly, confusion as to why you've responded the way you just responded because you felt fine, a second ago. Burnout and exhaustion, even when you're resting, like that
yeah.
real deep tiredness. I can't put one more foot in front. I can't deal with one more thing. Brain fog, difficulty focusing and feeling scattered, trouble sleeping, and waking up, particularly between those hours of 2 and like 3, like the
The
witching
witchy hour,
hours. I tell you, like, why am I thinking about like all my
the
to-do
witchy
lists
hours.
for the next 20
Did I run
years?
out of eggs?
Why? Yeah, just like, "Did I put that washing on? Did I?" Like, just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
like
reckon
this.
everyone's out there going, "Yeah."
Yeah, it's like,
I
and you look at
actually
the
had
comment.
a client one time. I was doing a biofeedback let's start again. I was doing a biofeedback assessment with her, and we were just talking about all the different things like stress and water and nutrition, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I came to the point where I was like, "Okay, let's go through mood." So I was asking her about some, mood questions, and she goes to me, "Oh, I'm the traditional 7 dwarfs." And I've just looked at her and I went, "Sorry?" And she said, sneezy, happy, sleepy. And she just went on with the 7 dwarfs with the moods. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's God's best description ever." So that was really cool. But from what
Yes.
you're saying, so you're saying all of these amplified anxiety, this rage monster that I call it the rage monster, the burnout, the feeling like your whole body is just kind of shutting down and you're like, "What's wrong with me?" So this
Yeah.
is all stuff that's very normal in quotation marks with regards to a dysregulated nervous system. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay.
So when we come to this place, this bridge, this kind of it's a transition. It's a rebirthing
Yeah.
of the self. Like this is every
Rebirthing. Oh, I like that.
everything up till now, is now being replayed at that 2 to 3 o'clock time slot every day.
On
Like it's being
repeat. Yeah.
replayed on repeat. Yeah. It's being replayed. Like everything in our biological system is shifting. How we relate to ourselves, how we relate to our children, our relationships, the world, work, all of it is shifting hormonally. It's shifting um, in our nervous system, it's shifting nutritionally, it's just shifting,
Mm,
physically, emotionally, everything is shifting. There's not one part of us that's not being impacted by, this transition. And this, when we hit this transition and we start to move with it and see what's, what that we're at this threshold, we can often get really kind of jolted, really jolted back. And a lot of the things in our nervous system that have been working up to now no longer work. Like it's
yeah.
not working because your physiology is changing, because everything's changing around you. Your nervous system is now responding to things that are no longer relevant.
I
And
hear that
so,
every day. Yeah.
yeah.
Every day from women all the time. Yeah.
And the threshold too, like where we had this kind of cushy kind of, we've got like all the hormonal levels are changing, our estrogen, our progesterone, where we used to have this kind of give. We're like here, where's
Yeah.
no give anymore?
Yeah.
So
There's
you
no buffer.
mentioned there's no buffer. It's
Yeah.
so refreshing. I just want to say that it's so edgy and raw and so refreshing. And like you mentioned rage before, and like for instance, rage is such an incredible, powerful portal to be sitting with in the space of actually really looking at what that power source is, because we're cultured as women, and it goes back to the exile parts, to shut everything down. We're cultured into good girls. We're cultured into this idealized way of
Mhm.
showing up in every possible way for others apart from ourselves. And we hit this point and all those things we've had enough of. Who are
You're
we at this
you're
point?
actually playing on that word rage, right? So you were talking, what an ambiguous word. I've actually never, you just really awoken something in my own head. You've just opened up ambiguity for me because rage, like when I think of rage monster, oh, you're growling and so forth. But rage, for those of us who are old enough to remember Rage, the music station on TV, right?
Yeah.
We would go out and rage, right? So party and celebrate and all the rest of it. So you just touched on looking at this not as rage, grr, the monster,
No.
rage as in it's the awakening of a new phase, of the new you, of letting go of that suppression and the fact that we've been held back by our elders to say, don't speak up, don't, we're really held back. I
Yeah.
really got that from what you were saying. Did I interpret that or
That's
am
correct.
I just making a whole thing up here?
No, that's correct. So rage is part of the exiled parts that we've been taught and cultured, and that's like kind of through the ancestral lineage as well, to suppress, to exile, to get rid of, to disconnect from. And in this place of this midlifing, which I do, like I call it the midwifing the midlife, is when rage becomes it wants to come back in, like the rage, and it's there. It's going, pick me, come on, I'm back, and so it needs to be knitted back in, because the rage in the work that I do and somatically is we can work with rage in a really healthy way. We can build rage and presence. And when you have rage and presence, you have power. And rage is the same source that brings life. That, you've got, like, rage is dynamic. It moves and shifts quite quickly. And you can see that in life itself. To have like a plant grow, to push a baby out, to fight or navigate really like difficult ruptures in our relationships, where we're working to kind of meet someone where they're at. Sorry. It's like this dynamic energy that needs to be brought forward. And it's the same stuff that rage is made out of. The issue is that we have with rage is we haven't been taught how to ground with it. We haven't been taught to anchor and feel the rage. The rage kind of like is like flips us completely and where we feel out of control. But there is a way to work with rage in the body, and this is what I do with somatic therapy, where we can anchor and ground. So we are conscious of the rage, the energy of the rage, we hold it and we direct it and we move it. So boundaries are firmed up, clarity, creativity, passion, eroticism, like life-giving energy, like getting up and through, when we're in a numb, shut down state in our nervous system, we need a big charge to get us back out into a regulated and socially engaged situation. And rage is a charge, like getting angry and rageful is the charge to move us out of that disconnected, frozen, freeze, numbed out state. The culture, I talk a lot about patriarchy as well, that the colonized patriarchal systems of oppression and violence wants us in. They want us disconnected. Yeah. They want us shut down, because when we are in our full embodied anchored rage, we are a force, and all together, like we could be running the world. And that's not to say that women should be running the world. I'm talking about
we have
women.
The capacity.
We have the capacity to. And women who are not patriarchal. Not all women can run the world. Women who are patriarchal, who don't have an understanding of their nervous system, aren't anchored into their feminine and into that sisterhood of collaboration and understanding the flow of their own system and the humanity piece and service, all that plays in. Not all women can run the world, but women who have an anchoring. Or want to, yeah. Who have an anchoring and this real harnessing of these kind of places and spaces, these exiled parts like rage, can really do some incredible things to shift so many things that are happening in the world right now that we're all kind of like, the fuck is happening?
I'm just buzzing right now. Like, I'm listening to you and I was like, and I'm like, wow, this is very liberating. This is stuff that can help you feel liberated and just kind of come out and be who you want to be that you've suppressed all these years.
Absolutely.
But what happens when the ladies out there are like, oh yeah, I would love to be able to speak up and name my thoughts or whatever the case is with, say, a partner or even with their children, their parents, their neighbours, whoever. Perhaps they don't stand up for themselves. Like, there's a lot of people who are kind of like hold back. They don't stand up. They don't set boundaries. They're just kind of people pleasers because that's what has been expected of them.
Yeah.
And they're kind of stuck there. And now they're like, oh, I don't really know how I want to, but how do I actually do it? And so does this somatic therapy actually help with that sort of thing as well? If this podcast is resonating, I'm Coach Terry Batsakis, a nutrition, mindset and health coach for women navigating perimenopause and midlife. I support women in managing hormonal symptoms, feel more at home in their bodies, and move through this phase with confidence and clarity. If you need support navigating midlife, you can find out more about working with me at terrybatsarkis.com.au.
Yeah, because what you have just described is the people pleasers, the fawn state. The
Right.
I can't speak up because, I'm afraid can be like a shutdown freeze state, but also be a flight state. The women who go into fight, who go into, like, when they're feeling threatened, go into this kind of untethered rage, like real, like destructive, because rage can be destructive too if it's not tethered and not directed. It can burn down whole villages with people inside. And sometimes, that severing is necessary. I want to say that severing is sometimes necessary as well.
I agree. Get rid of some toxicity or whatever. Yeah, it is necessary sometimes.
That's right. So that fight there is also a nervous system response, like that kind of short fuse. That is your system, your body saying, I'm overwhelmed. I've had enough. Like something in this space is not working. This relationship's not working. The way I'm showing up for myself is not working. I need something more. I'm not listening to something within myself. And if women are coming to that point where they're going, I want to speak up, but I can't, I don't know how, I'm afraid, that is your body. That's your body's invitation, your nervous system's invitation to saying, what you're doing right now is no longer working. Like what you've been doing up to now is no longer working. Like this is your opportunity and this is your invitation to start to learn about the patternings of your own nervous system, which is what I do in somatic therapy. So then we can start to learn how to repattern it in the body, the nervous system, and neurologically, like literally forming new neurological pathways and attachment points as well. So you can start to orient in your space to knowing when's appropriate and when feels the best time to speak up, how to speak up, when it feels in your system that you're disconnected or you're fawning, you're trying to move with somebody else in order to please them or to ruffle any feathers, and what that feels like in your system. And what we do in somatic therapy is that we widen the space in between the trigger, like the sensation in the body, and the action. So there's a little place in between where we bring presence and we slow down so we can check in with our system, and that's where the magic happens. So when you have rage and you're going to that fight mode, like someone's just cut you off, you're having a crappy morning, the kids, you're running late for work, school, the kids have been really challenging.
You don't know anything about that.
Running in the back of the car and you're like, oh my Lord, like it's 9 o'clock. How am I going to make it through the day, let alone my life? Like it's really, and you're feeling the rage. Someone's cut you off and you're just ready. You're there. You're just going to like, you're homicidal thoughts. Like I want to normalize that. That is so normal. What we do in somatic therapy is that we check the patterns of the system. We know our system. We know the sensations in the body and what we're noticing in our environment. And we know that, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. We can feel the pressure. We can start to feel, and we know our system and we trust in our body enough to know that, we're only just doing, like, the next step while we're going is just to get safety within the system. And so we're understanding the patterns, the sensations, and then at the point before we actually move into the, like the screaming, we pause and we do what we need to do for our system at that point, and we widen that gap. And then what we do is that we anchor the rage. We find ground and safety in the body, in the system. And if it's appropriate to say, cut it out, kids, or whatever it is, or pull over the side of the road, you're still in that rage. You're still acting in an appropriate way. We're not diminishing the rage. We're directing it. We're directing it in a more clear, safe and boundaried way.
So it's about creating action rather than reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on
So
this.
we're responding instead of, and like when we're in the younger years, it's really like, we're reacting. Like it's so busy. There's so much pressure, you know,
Mm.
so much expectation as a young woman to have a particular setup for life, and getting our lives, together. And then as we're heading into this space, we're really heading into our seer years, we're really heading into our alchemalized medicine years. And it takes more of an energy of sitting back and being in our power. And in that is like understanding the resources are all here. We have access to all of that. And how do we start to integrate that and give those exiled parts, all those parts that we never had time to cultivate, or we were too busy to recognize or to create space for? How do we start now to really till that soil underneath where we are right now and start to plant seeds and understand who we are, who we've been, who we want to be, and how we want to show up and respond to life, like literally in every moment, with ourselves, with our loved ones, with life in itself. And that's where we start to really feel the magic and harness this midlife in a way where it becomes a power, not something that's kind of draining and that we're kind of like frustrated by. We can start to ride this and really feel this kind of nourishment in these years.
Briony, you have this energy about you. I literally going to go and put my superhero cape on. It's the best. It's like, yes. So if our girls out there are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and on edge, which we kind of do, what are some of the simple things that they can start doing, just even on their own right now? What are some of the things that they can start doing just to help support that nervous system?
Yeah. Firstly, always, everything that you are feeling, every presentation that you have and experience at any time, don't gaslight yourself. Be with it. Recognize it. That is the first thing. Bring compassion to it. When we have sensations, emotions, they will only last in our bodies for 90 seconds if we do not bring story to it. If we bring story, we can live that for generations, for the rest, for years.
What do you mean by bring story to it?
So I'm feeling angry because when I was 20, I remember this really, my dad said this really bad thing, and, and I had this big argument, and that reminds me of that time. And geez, I'm still angry about that. And I felt really, I didn't feel heard, and I didn't feel that I got, what I needed in that situation, or it happened to me at 2, or, I'm frustrated right now because my husband didn't listen to me this morning. When we have sensations and feelings in the body, it's our body's way of communicating with us. And if we take a breath and we just sit with that it's okay that that's here right now, we don't have to do anything with it. We just have to notice it, because when we're in this space, when we're having those sensations and feelings, all we want by our loved ones and our body wants and our nervous system wants is safety and witnessing and to be supported and held in that space. The first thing is just notice and acknowledge. That's it. Don't try to add a story to it. Breathing is also really important in that, slowing the breath down, because that gives you presence. And presence is really important when, like with perimenopause, hormonal fluctuations, as well as nervous system responses, slowing things down to speed up. We have to slow it down so we can move. And if we keep moving faster, we're actually just cycling in the same patterns. So slowing it down, breathing, getting into the body, using movement, really important. Whatever movement looks like to you, dancing, walking, yoga, running. Running is such a good thing to get rid of cortisol. When I left my marriage, oh my goodness, I ran for the first time in my life and screamed. I was in a rural setting, away from my children, but it just released all the cortisol out of my body that I'd been holding in my body for 43 years, of this kind of toxic, abusive dynamic. Reduce input. So get quiet, move things closer in. Like a lot of when we're in this space of feeling overwhelmed and stressed and there's burnout, there can be sensory and neurodivergency here. So like weighted blankets, fidgets, being in more enclosed space, having a blanket over you, a less stimulation. I like 90s techno. That's my kind of neurospicy brain. So I built out 90s techno while I'm walking on the treadmill every day, because that's my time. And that gets me focused and that gets me ready for the day. My energy, focus, I can kind of parent the kids still. They're all dancing around. I can sing. Singing is also, lubricating that central channel for women,
For
particularly.
ourselves. I don't know about everyone around me when I'm singing.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I think I sound good. You know, they have to tell me I sound good anyway, because I'm perimenopause and that's just how it is. So yeah,
Hey, I'm using that.
yeah. So yeah, lubricant, and particularly with rage as well, and getting presence. When we're singing, when we're moving, we're bringing presence in the body and we're grounding and we're starting to access the pelvis, that pelvic bowl. And there's so much juice and so much nourishment in that. With just lubricating that kind of central challenge.
And boy, did that need lubricating at this age.
It really does. It does. Yeah, absolutely.
It so does.
That shutdown, that hollowness that the culture wants us to feel becomes more exacerbated in these years, So we have to get more nourishment. We have to get more creativity. I've almost reverted back to my teen self. And it's been really interesting to see things that I had, like my early 20s, late teens, that I'm starting to find, picking up the threads of that and bringing that back into my day to day and exploring that as, 47-year-old Briony, what does this feel like now? Why was I drawn to that then? And having fun with that, finding the joy in the moment and the gratitude with just finding those little pleasures, which we can find in present moment. And the chaos of life and of these times and riding, the flow of our systems, getting to know who we are has been the greatest surprise to me. I dreaded these years, and I am not even at my full power yet. I am in my power years and I'm having a fantastic time. I am enjoying my homicidal thoughts and my little fluctuations and the rage music, the raging music.
The raging music. I love that. I'm adopting that one. I love that.
And dressing and showing up as I want to be in whatever shape and form that takes.
Reinvention.
Reinvention. This is the reinvention years. Mm-hmm. And when you have safety in your system and presence, you can do that because you don't care. You don't give a shit about anyone, because you have that safety and that ground, that capacity within your body, within your environment to show up in any which way that you please, because you know you have the resources to meet what's coming next. You don't need to have, I used to have a 20, 30-year plan. I don't have that anymore. I work in 5-year increments and then I break it down because things are dynamic. The world's dynamic. My body's dynamic at the moment. And I don't know who I'm going to be, from today to tomorrow or 12 months down the track. And to even meet my children is a dynamic as well. And so I cultivate presence and ground all the time. That is ground. Find the safety and the stability in just sitting and feeling the chair at your back and the sit bones on a solid surface and your feet on the ground, and look around you and notice what brings you pleasure in your environment. Is it the trees? Is it that kind of, that nice color? Is that beautiful outfit that you have? Is it that picture? Is it just feeling the texture of your clothing or something on your lap, or even a fidget? Finding the pleasure in the little things. And then once you have that, grow it.
So get out of your head and get into your environment.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting out of this. Is this what you're saying?
Get out of your head, but we're not getting rid of your head, because somatic therapy, we work with head as well. We don't get rid of anything. We bring more in. So we bring all the inner critic, we bring all the stuff in because we want to play in the somatic therapy in your system with everything. We want everything integrated in because everything that you are and everything that you've experienced is on purpose
Makes us
and
who we
it brings the beauty of who you are into the world. And we all need that beauty. We all need people who are really anchoring their authenticity at this time and collaborating and encouraging other people's authenticity, because we all have a thread of medicine to bring into this soup of what we're living right now in life, individually, collectively, and communally. And we can't afford right now to keep all those things in the shadows. We want all the shadow stuff. We want all the sticky, dense, like that's terrible, shame. We need to bring that and really process that or integrate that into our system, because there's healthy shame and there's toxic shame. Integrate that into our system because every part of our experience is rich, even the not so nice stuff. And bringing that in and having compassion for the self and really holding the self and safety that you have is the most incredible place to be at
I
this
think
time.
I think that might be a bit scary for some people, actually. You talk about even, like the bad stuff and the bad
Mm.
shame and things like that. That's quite confronting for some people. Do you get some people being a little bit reluctant to kind of tackle that?
Absolutely. When I'm in the clinic room, often the women that I'm working with, it's the first time they've ever been in contact with their body. Just asking a question like, what do you notice now, can send a woman's whole
Yeah.
system into like a spiral of overwhelm.
Yeah,
So
I
this
can
is why
imagine.
the presence is really important. Like we literally are told to disconnect from our bodies, to disconnect from our emotional, intelligent
Forget
sense of
about
who
it.
we
Forget
are.
about it. Yeah. Move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Mm,
Your anger, your tears, they're not welcome. They're not welcome. And you're feeling the way you're feeling. Well, you shouldn't feel that way. I feel this way. And that's ridiculous. So when in a clinic space, with women, that's the first time they've ever had contact with that. And it is extremely confronting and frightening. And so a lot of this work with somatic therapy, a lot of my own work is holding that relational field that's safe. So whatever you bring into the space with me, I'm going to hold that compassion and I'm going to hold that ground and I'm not going to turn from you. I'm going to witness you and be with you. You know the way. Like I don't need to tell you what you already know the way, but I'm going to hold the acceptance of who you are and whatever presentation that is. And I'm going to remind you that you've got this. And a lot of that, we don't have that in our day to day. We don't have
certainly don't.
we haven't been taught it.
Mm,
Holding safety in spaces of intimacy, whether that's in friendship or intimate partnership, or even just seeing someone at the grocery store, with our children, at a meeting, even at work.
all
When we
5 of them.
all 5 of them, or sometimes simultaneously, actually often simultaneously. When we have that intimate space where we're connecting with another or connecting with a situation, and all we want to feel in that space is that connection, that holding, that we are loved and that we're okay. And
Acceptance.
acceptance, that's
Mm,
what we want.
yeah.
And we know, like, when we have experiences where we've had that, like we go on retreats and we feel finally seen, and then we go back into normal life and like, this is crap. Like,
Yeah.
I want to go back on retreat. We can have retreat in our day to day. We can have that integrated into our day to day. We need to have more places and spaces where we're being seen and witnessed and celebrated in all parts, like everything, like a mother's love, an archetypal divine mother's love, that you can bring your worst of your worst to me, and I'm still going to connect with you. I'm not going to turn from you. You are perfect, even in that space. I had this really beautiful saying many, many years ago from a woman that I knew, one of my school kids teachers, preschool teachers, and she said, a miracle, when you're born, you're a miracle. And she said, a miracle never changes as it ages. And it just stuck with me that each of
Wow, that's
us
so
are
true.
miracles. We're
Right?
miracles. Yes. And when you think about how we all came, you know, complexities aside and dynamics aside and family, when we came, we were a miracle. We were seen as miraculous. And no matter what age we are still that miracle that was first birthed into the world. And so what does that miracle mean? What does that thread of that miracle, how's that miracle of you going to move and be and shine and show up in the world?
Honor
So
the miracle.
sorry.
Honor the miracle.
Honor the
Yeah.
miracle. Honor the miracle.
Yeah.
When we work with our system at this stage, the perimenopausal and menopausal stage, it's kind of midlife, we're midwifing ourselves. And the best places to start is here. And that's scary. I know that can be scary and confronting. But once you know yourself and you know all those shadowy bits and sticky bits and the bits that you were told that weren't welcome, once you can know and hold that and you have that sense of safety and holding within your system, and you can start to cultivate that around you. You cannot hold another in any place and space within their experience if you haven't first held that experience within yourself. So you need to feel like you need to turn towards and orient towards these places and seek the places and spaces where you can be held in this, like the shame and like connecting with the body and like the anger and the grief and the rage, that you can have that modeling. If your system doesn't know how to orient to that or doesn't recognize that, find places and spaces and people that you can actually feel that with, so you can start to feel that in your system. And then you can start to plant the seeds of that in the composting of your life, because this is also the composting years. You can plant seeds of safety and deeply held compassionate orientation and love and miraculous living and breathing and recognition in your system. So then you can start to cultivate that around you.
I love that. I love that so much. It's so true. We really need to just pat ourselves on the back a little bit, recognize how freaking awesome we are, really,
Yeah,
through all the shit that we've been through all the drama. Surround yourself with people that are going to make you thrive
yeah,
and just nurture that. Like,
absolutely.
so true.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap up, any final words that you want to say to our ladies listening?
I think the biggest thing, and you've already touched on that, is that we're in this chapter and everything's coming at us at once. And the sands are shifting quickly. Like there
So
is
quickly.
there's no grain or stone that's going to be left unturned. If you're engaging with this midlife and the medicine this midlife, there's not a stone that is going to be, everything's going to be flipped. Embrace the flip, embrace and look under those stones, look under those parts and spaces and places within you and bring curiosity. There's no definitive way that you need to be in this and how you're going to come out the other side, because we are living, breathing, dynamic organisms, and embracing that shift and transition that is happening and going to happen, with anchoring into your body, anchoring, finding ground, finding presence, and then showing up to this is the best way for your system to meet, because you're not going to change the shift. The shift is here. It's happening. The change, you can anchor and ground into the present moment and be like that tree with roots deep in your life. So as things are shifting and changing, you're not uprooted. You are steady and control what you can control. Like for
And then you're
me,
swaying like the
you're
tree. You're
swaying. Yes.
swaying. I
You're
love that.
swaying. You're swaying. So yeah, control what you can control. Like, things that are unique to you, and anchor into that, like really anchor. So for me, it's diet, it's movement, it's exercise every day. It's what I put into my body. It's meditation or prayer. It's the somatic, it's knowing my system. So anchor where you can and grow that anchoring, grow that out. So as things shift and change and you don't know what the fuck is going on and where do I show up next, go back in to that present moment and just sit with that you know, and it will come to you. It will come to you. I guarantee 100% clarity will come to you when you step back and you just bring presence and you just go, yeah, I'm feeling like shit and I'm just going to walk, or I'm going to sing, or I'm going to have that chocolate bar, or I'm going to go for a run. I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to notice what I notice, breathe, bring presence to that, and just and trust what's going to come next. Yeah.
Bryony, that has been an absolutely incredible show. I can't even say. I know I'm kind of like, my energy is like, ooh, I'm so ready for the rest of the day. It's not funny. It's been amazing. What a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I've so enjoyed having this conversation with you. So yeah,
I'm glad. I'm glad you have, because I've had a ball with you.
Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Tune in again next time for our next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and share with other women you know. And in the meantime, until we see each other again or speak to each other again, stay awesome. Thank you for listening to the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. Join me next time for more honest conversations about midlife and what's possible from here.